Okay, I think we finally got this thing to work. Gosh. Can you hear me, Robin? Can you give me a little thumbs up? Oh, great. It's just this constant madness of trying to get these recordings or whatever live streams working, and it's just always something that breaks down. But I think we are live. I think we even have background noise for some reason. Let's see if I can turn that. What is that? Oh, it's called night driving. Let's just turn that off. Okay, so we're going to talk about the grit test, a 5-minute grit test. And so I've trained mental resiliency for or two coaches, probably hundreds of soldiers and some entrepreneurs. And I'm going to show you a little trick today on how you can use a scientific test on how to test how gritty you are. And we're going to talk about what grit is or what mental strength is as well. And once we've done that, we're going to talk about some very simple ways that you can implement that in your life today. So without adding extra time or without having a extra training schedule, you can just do these few things in your everyday to kind of keep building that mental strength. Oh, even the dog Pippin is here today. Great. Maybe I'll get a dog thumbs up. I don't know if they have dogs, but maybe one of those weird looking thumbs they have. So, all right. Just see if we have some, if everything is working. Can I get some signs of life here? Okay, we have signs of life here. We have, of course, Robin, always supportive, looking great today. And okay, we have signs of life everywhere. I'm excited about that. Okay, so I want to show you something that's really cool. She is called Angela Duckworth, and she has done some really interesting research on mental strength and what grit is, and just made it a little bit more tangible than just, a lot of times people say, just that ability to blah, 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 to be strong, to keep going. But they made it into a science, which I think is pretty interesting. So I'm going to show you a little bit how she sees it or how they see it and the research they have come up to, because I think it's very interesting. Unfortunately, we won't be able to do the test together because it does have a copyright so I can't just share everything with you, unfortunately. But you can see here, this is the website, angeladuckworth.com, and they did a lot of research on what the heck grit is and what the heck this mental strength thing is. Oh, let's see, should probably share it as well. There we go. Whoop. Now I think you can see it. Great. Let me make it a little bit bigger. So the research they did focused on 2 traits that predict achievement, because that's pretty cool, right? We often talk about the biggest predictor of success, and what they come up to as a big predictor of success is grit and self-control, right? So grit, as they call it, is the tendency to sustain interest in and effort towards very long-term goals. So that's a pretty interesting one. So the grit, as they define it, is the tendency to sustain interest in and effort toward very long-term goals. So that means we put something up there where we want to get, and we're able to stick to that path, right? So far, a pretty good definition. The other component they say is self-control, and it's the voluntary regulation of impulses to presence of momentarily gratifying temptations. This is like the marshmallow test, when they gave the kids the option, like, hey, you can either have the marshmallow now, 1 marshmallow now, or you can have 2 marshmallows later. And the crazy kids that waited and said, I'll take 2 later, they were in they were the ones predicted to have better success in life. And later on, when they returned to that study and those people, of course, they were the ones who have achieved the most. So that being able to delay gratification really is important, no matter what we want to do. That makes sense so far? Nothing new, right? Right. So in Unbreakable Mind, we don't have a lot of fancy terms, right? So I like to see mental strength or grit as the ability to keep your promises to yourself. Simple as that. Let's just say my goal is to, I want to run 5K every morning. Then being mentally strong would mean you would actually do that. You would run your 5K every morning. So it just means a relationship to yourself based on based on predictability and actually doing the things that you said you would do. So a lot of fancy words to do that, but on the same page we are on the same we are agreeing here with what they are saying. So, but the fun thing that they did, they of course had to operationalize this or make this measurable, right? And I think that's where this becomes a little bit interesting because we often talk about mental strength as something we just push harder or we do more, like that extra rep at the gym or that extra hour at work. You know, someone's like, they're so mentally strong because they could just do more work. Well, the thing is, if you don't connect your mental strength or your effort towards a goal, then chances are you're not really that mentally strong. You're just doing a lot of work. So because what they say here, say sustain interest in and effort toward very long-term goals. So if you're working 14 hours per day and you're doing that for 2 years, but you're constantly shifting direction, shifting goals, then maybe you're not that mentally strong. You're just really good at working hard. Does that make sense? Let's see, Robin, I'm actually gonna see if I can pop you up here on screen because I don't like when you're hiding down there. I'm gonna get you in here to get all the good stuff you have. Let's see if I can make that happen. See if we can make some magic happen. Put in a Robin in here. I think this could work. Okay, let's see if you. Oh, there you go. Look at that. A tiny Robin at the bottom of the screen. There you go.
Yeah, it's like if you're not pointed in a direction, it's like you're treading water in one place or you're marking time. When I was in a marching band, you march in place without moving somewhere. You're just marking time. You're accomplishing something, but you're not moving forward. You're not going somewhere.
Yeah,
You don't have something you're moving towards.
yeah. I think that's the point they're trying to make here. Just doing hard work isn't building mental strength. It isn't mental strength. You're just working hard. Like, but the ability to have that focus and that direction towards something you want, that would be how they define it. And I agree with that. Yeah. And then the second point they're talking about is the idea that you can self-regulate or emotionally regulate. So every time you see a piece of candy, you don't like, yay, woo! You go for a piece of candy, but you're like, you know what? Maybe I'll skip this piece of candy so I can have my health goals instead, so I can keep my teeth for a few more years.
That's
Stuff like
right. Yeah.
Okay. Have you seen this research stuff before? The work that she's done?
The marshmallow piece, yes.
Mm.
Not the idea of the concept of work without being pointing it towards a goal is sort of worthless, other than if I want to see how many hours I can do something for some reason.
Yeah,
Um, it's like, yeah, how many hours can I walk? Well, I proved I can walk this many hours.
yeah,
But unless I'm gonna walk the Appalachian Trail, what difference does it make? Um, it, I've never seen it written down anywhere about the goal. I've thought about it, but I never put it together.
that's kind of interesting. And because you can see, I know a lot of people who they work really hard. They're like, I would call them workaholics. Maybe they have a business or something. And there's this pride of doing things that are hard. And as long as you're doing hard things, you must be doing something right, right? And then but they also at the same time are not happy about the results they have. So they're doing all of this work because hard work is good, but they're also not getting the result they want. So it's just like kind of breaks your brain a little bit. So obviously there is an idea that we have to align our hard work towards something consistently. so we can get somewhere. And I think that is the key here. What we're trying to get to is that you got to have the goal, you got to walk on that path and do the work on that path. And if you're doing that and you're really good at doing that, then your level of mental strength or grit is high. Something like that. The other thing that they talk about here is that it, they say like one of the biggest predictors of success, no matter your arena, is usually IQ and talent. Like if you listen to Jordan Peterson or other people, that's the number one predictor. In their studies, they rather say that the biggest predictor of success or achievement is actually grit. So the cool part, and the reasoning behind this, I think I understand now after listening to whatever it was, Huberman or some other one of those podcasts, right? Is that you can have someone. Let's say I meet someone that has a really high IQ, and then me and that person are going to compete in chess. And then I have a medium IQ. That person has a really high IQ. But I've practiced chess for 10 years. I've done it every day for 10 years. And that person started, 2 weeks ago. Like there's no way that person is going to beat me. So all things being equal, the IQ and the talent is the thing that's going to predict who's going to win. But life doesn't really work that way. Like everything, all things aren't equal. There are always so many variables. So, which leads us to the idea that, or to the what we see in life is that the people who practice things the most, they're the one who wins the game, And the people who practice the most towards one specific goals are the ones who are mentally strong, because that's the definition of it, right? So it all boils down to this interesting thing about developing mental strength as a key component, because that unlocks everything else. So if you're untalented and really stupid, low IQ, you can compensate by doing the right work, like learning the right skills, and you will outcompete most people in the long run, right? And I think you can see this in endurance races or military selections or stuff like that, that it's not the most fit or the most talented who finish or take it all the way to the goal. It's just the people who are able to stick around. Like you just keep going, right? They have one goal and they keep going. They just do the work and they consistently over time. And a week later, 2 weeks later, they're one of the few who finishes. And I think life is many ways the same. You keep
This
going and
makes
just yeah.
much sense because they've come out with something in education of late that's put a twist on exactly what you're saying with how to talk to children that are, quote, exceptionally educationally talented, I'll put it that way,
Yeah.
and the kids that may be average or not talented. And often the kids that are educationally talented, the parents will, oh, you got your A. Da, 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 da. So the kids will walk around, oh, I blew through school. I got my A. So they're used to blowing through school. They don't have the habits. They don't have the habits they need to excel at school. They're used to blowing through school. They don't have they don't have the skills they need. They're used to just blowing through with the intellect. They found out the average when I say these things, they bucketed it, they put it down to IQ eventually. The kids that were average and a little bit below average, they developed the skills they needed to support what they needed. They developed more long-term weather ability to go further. The people that were only relying on their intellect had more peaks and valleys and were more erratic with what they were accomplishing. Like they might hit something, whiz bang, but then they crashed because they didn't know what to do with it or couldn't sustain it. But the people that learned how to have the skills and the skill sets that put it together, they, I don't know how to say this properly, but it built a web that helped them maintain and keep rising, and it held them there. I don't, I remember reading it in the last month or two, but I can't describe it well.
Yeah, it almost becomes like a curse, right? Because now suddenly the pressure is on. Like you are the smart kid, you are the one who did everything. But sooner or later, when you leave your little community, and maybe you're even going to like a fancy school, like I hear stories about this a lot. Like those kids who had it really easy, great scores, and then they end up like Harvard or whatever, some other fancy school, and then they realize, oh, now I'm with everyone else here who also has high EQ or IQ and talented, but I'm just average now. And suddenly the people who the IQ thing levels out. So suddenly IQ disappears out through the window. It's like because everyone is super smart, right? So what's left? What is the ability to do the work and the ability to keep going with that goal in mind and keep working on that path? And
It's
so yeah,
they were telling the parents to start working with the qualities of, not I'm proud of your grade. I like how you worked through that problem. I liked how you treated so and so. Did you look at that problem 3 times before you figured out the solution? They started saying uh, ignore ignore the thing that you would usually compliment and go for the underlying qualities
yeah, yeah.
that are more important.
No, I like it, and I think there's definitely something to that. Yeah, I don't know if I lost it.
Well, that doesn't help adults much, though.
And I listened to an interview yesterday about the guy who wrote The Art of Learning, I think the book is called, which basically started out as a little chess master when he was a kid, and then he grew up and he traversed into martial arts, and then he traversed into Tai Chi, and now he's doing like high speed foiling, stuff. Just one of those guys who's able to learn different skills and probably super smart as well. But he's really intended on that, like having that direction, right? And working ways towards that. And that is a skill that he realized also would be the main advantage to going somewhere. So that's why it's so interesting to have. And it's also interesting to know whether or not we do have it. Because either, so if we know we're really strong at this, then we should probably put our emphasis somewhere else, some other type of skill development. But if we realize that we actually suck at this, then maybe we should put our emphasis on that. Maybe we should put our energy into developing mental strength so we can, uh, you know, get the benefits of that. So I think that's why it's so nice to have this test and to figure out where you're at. And as you know, Robin, in Unbreakable Mind, and as Sai, you know as well, like in Unbreakable Mind, we do a bunch of other tests, not just this one. This is just a good introduction, I would say. And you can get it. I'll show you where you guys can get it. So basically, go to, I think you can just Google her name, and then you go down here. You want to use the 12-item grid scale,
Okay.
and it's basically going to ask you, and you have this in the Unbreakable Mind community already, Robin. It's already
Okay.
in there, so you have the links and everything to go do this stuff. Let's see if I can share this. And I just want to go through a few questions here because I think this could open up for you guys to get a sense of where you're at, and then you can dive in deeper into this on your own. But you'll see here where they emphasize or where they put the importance. So you're going to get a few statements, and the idea is to rate them from very much like me or not at all like me. Right? So let's see, I have a few ones that I think is most interesting. I think this one is an interesting one. So the question is, I have difficulty maintain, or the statement is, I have difficulty maintaining my focus on projects that take more than a few months to complete. And then you're supposed to score yourself from very much like me to not not like me at all. And the reason why I like this one is because you can see a lot of people who are really, they put a lot of effort into things. They work really hard, like we talked about before. They can go like 14 hours and work really hard. But here they extend the timeline. So the idea is that if you can't focus on a project for a couple of months, then that is an indicator that your grit score is probably pretty low. So that's a good metric to go and to compare yourself towards. Have I completed something that took months to achieve? Or are all the things that I've achieved so far, or most of the things I've achieved so far, shorter term, maybe 1 month or 4 months? So let's say you have done, the Unbreakable Mind Bootcamp, 6 weeks long. Right? It's a big achievement to do that thing, but it wouldn't really count towards what they're talking about here, really showing up and showing that you have long-term mental strength or having this grit. So you want to extend the timeline. It's very interesting. This kind of changed my perspective a bit.
Okay.
So we have Sai here as well. I'm going to see if I can pop you on screen as well. Nice to meet you. Get another little person down here. Be a little party.
Yay.
I don't know where he's going to end up, but I'll shove you on screen and see where you go. Oh, you got below right. Look at this. Nice to see you again, buddy.
Yes. Yes. Like, are we talking about the grit? Are we talking about like how to implement grit and taking the test on grit?
Sorry, could you say that again?
No, like, is it like taking a test on a grit, like to check our grit level?
Yeah, exactly. The grit score we did in community. Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, exactly. So we're just going through it more in depth what this means and like how you can use it to kind of understand yourself better. Because I think a lot of people go through it and then like, oh, cool, I got a grit score of 4.6, whatever, and then they move on. So we're just trying to better understand what it means and how it can impact our life. And the core component here is that this study, they attach grit to long-term goal setting. So if you can't, and they mean long-term as more than a few months at least, right? So if you have ever had a goal that's like a year out or 5 months plus out, and you were able to work consistently towards that, then that's a good indicator that you have developed some type of mental strength. But if you really struggle with setting those yearly goals and going after them, then chances there's room to improve. So that's kind of the discussion we're going through now. So I'm showing Robin and the other people around the questions that are in this grit test.
Yes.
And then you could also see questions like this. So I become interested in new pursuits every few months. So this would be what we talked about before. That little candy is like, oh, this is new and shiny and bright. I'm going to go over here a bit.
Mm-hmm.
So the thing that made me a little bit curious is that, so for example, in business, like what I'm doing now, I have my big goal, but then as I'm walking the path towards that one, then I learn new stuff. And it changes my perspective, because what I thought before was important is no longer important because I have new insights. So then my question to myself was, well, what the heck does this mean? Does it mean I can't like shift or pivot, or I just have to do the same thing? And that's why I think it's so important to, at least my conclusion right now is something like this. As long as the overarching goal is the same, it makes sense to pivot or pinball within that as long as you're going towards that, the overarching goal. So you can change direction, and I think here's where it becomes easier to make decisions. So let's say I have this goal up here that I want my business to be this way, and then I see this shiny thing over here. Like, oh, maybe I should try this strategy or technique. Like, oh, that looks fun, like new stuff, right? We all like that crap. So I go over here, but the way I try to figure out if that's a good option or not is by saying, okay, is that thing over there, first of all, is it going to lead me towards my goal? If it doesn't, then it's like, well, sorry, you're going to have to go. Bye, right? But if it does lead me towards my goal, and I have the other thing that I'm doing that also leads me towards my goal, then I compare those two on which one I believe is the most efficient one to move me towards my goal. So that means efficiency means to do something equally as good with less resources, or doing something better with the same resources, right? So then I can see, okay, if both of them take me to my goal, but this one is going to do it more efficiently. That allows me to do that goal adjustment or pivot. And then in my head, I see that, okay, now I think it's okay for me to do that pivot, change a little bit, and move on. Right? But I need to have some type of guardrails, so some type of framework. Otherwise, I would just be all over the place. I would go grab all the little fun golden stuff here, the new techniques, the new software, whatever. Right? Like, oh, this is cool. And then I would just go in circles, right? Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah. So we need those. The first one I think is good to do. Just, is this new thing leading to the same goal? If it does, then the next question is it more effective at doing that than the things that I'm already doing? Right. And then you can make this very complicated and more fancy by adding in the cost of transition, because if you change to something new, there's a transition cost of like figuring that out and realizing and everything, right? So you can make it more complex. But does it take me to my goal, and does it take me there more efficiently? If yes on both of those, I think it's legit to go after. If it's no on any of those, then chances are we're just being distracted, and we need to apply that discipline and need to apply that focus.
Yes.
So that's one framework we can use to kind of like make sure we're going in the right direction and we don't flop around too much. But we also seize the good opportunities, because we don't want to be like, nope, I've decided 10 years ago that this is, I'm going to invest in typewriters. And then people are talking about AI and computers. Like, nope, I'm going to learn how to type on a typewriter. That's my goal. So got to be able to adapt, right? I think so, at least. Okay, what else do we got on the big show for today? I think those are the questions. You know where to find them. Let's see, Sai, have you done this one already, the grit test?
Like I actually participated in some online survey kind of test, like on grit, but I did not follow this one.
Yeah, got it. But this is a really cool one, and we talked about it before. All you need to go is to go to this website, angela.duckworth.com. She's the researcher, and go down here to 12-item grit scale. It takes like 5 minutes to do it maximum, and then you can get some pretty good insight about yourself, which is kind of fun. And then once you have the results, it's basically going to score you from like low grit to high grit. And if you end up on the high grit scale, where you're like, okay, you're really good at following long-term goals, then the cool thing is that is probably not what you should focus on right now. That's probably not the thing that you should put your energy into, because you already have developed it to some degree. You should probably put your energy into the skills needed to go where you want to go. Right? But if you score low on that one, then I definitely would say that this is something you should focus on, because it will unlock everything else. Because if we don't have the mental strength or the grit to pursue something, then we will never become good at anything. Or at least it will be very hard, because we will have that pivoting and pinball action in our life. Right? Does that make sense?
Yes. Yes.
Any questions so far?
Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
I think it's clear.
Cool. So I'm going to show you the second part of this. So the first part now is that we've figured out a way to kind of make a rough estimate of whether or not we are absolutely mentally super weak, or if we have it, or if we're like totally, win the scores on this one. But I want to show you a little cool way you can start building or continue building this mental strength in your everyday life in a very time efficient way that doesn't add more to your day, but rather injects little exercises in your everyday routine. So if you don't have time to do a full Unbreakable Mind workout, you can do this one. And I've tried it with a few people now, and it seems to work. I'm just gonna make sure that I can find it here. And I
Yes.
think you might remember this thing. I don't know if I've run it through with you guys. Let's see here. Okay, let's see. We'll do it like this. I think you can see the screen now, right?
Okay.
Yeah, so we talk about the three arenas. We
Okay.
talk about the mind, the body, and the team. And if we can get all that aligned, we unlock the unbreakable performance, as we call it, and we really get access to the goals and the wants we have in our lives. So a way to practice that in your everyday life without adding more time or adding more stuff is to just seize the opportunities that pops up. But to do that, we got to identify the challenge. We got to identify the situation in our lives, and we got to identify the good ones. We don't want to waste energy because we only have so much energy and time in a day. So the first step we got to do is got to identify the challenge. The second thing, we got to do it. I meet a lot of people who think about things, who talk about things, who listen to podcasts about things, but they never do the thing. So that's why in Unbreakable Mind, we put doing things at the top. That's why everything we have is challenges, right? I give you challenges because even if you don't do the debrief or you listen to the podcast, at least you will have done something and you will have the experience. So that's the big one, right? So you gotta freaking do something because if you do it, you will get either the results that you wanted or the lesson that you needed. So it's a win-win in some sense. So we identify the challenge, we do it, and then the bonus, the whipped cream on the strawberries or whatever, is the debrief. This is how we make sure that we extract the best lessons from what we've been through, and to make sure we don't repeat the same mistakes, but we also, get the good stuff out of it. So this is the same things that I've been teaching mental resiliency to soldiers, and we use it in. It's used in the fire department. It's used everywhere where you have big events that you need to learn from because your next situation might be deadly. So it's a really good tool to figure out, how to learn and win. Okay, so when it comes to identifying the challenge, to know if it's a good challenge that would actually build mental strength or grit, it needs to give you a fear, anxiety, and doubt, or an emotional state. Going to the gym, doing another rep is hard, it's sweaty, and it takes a lot of willpower, but it doesn't build any mental strength. And the reason why it doesn't do that is because it's still within your familiar zone. It's the things that you're used to doing in a place where you feel comfortable, and it doesn't give you any of this. Does that make sense?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So one extra rep is going to make you stronger. It's going to develop that ability to just like lift heavier, but it isn't going to develop that mental strength in the sense that you can see an upcoming obstacle, overcome those fears, and keep going. Because the deadlift isn't giving you, it isn't training any part of that. So that's why the first check we do here is to check if this thing is giving us fear, anxiety, and doubt. And it doesn't have to be huge. So I'll give you a ridiculous example, which I've tried myself. So once I got a receipt back. And on it said, they overcharged me by 50 cents. And I'm like, oh, I don't care about 50 cents, whatever. But then I realized, how would I feel if I went back and asked for my 50 cents? Like, and I realized that I would feel like I do right now, a little bit awkward, uncomfortable. Like, are they going to think I'm the world's poorest person, that I really care this much about my 50 cents? So then I realized, oh, here are the emotions bubbling up, right? The little fear, the anxiety and doubt. Like, what are they going to think about me? So I'm like, okay, this is interesting. And then the next question I ask myself within this is that, I should say this challenge here would be to go back and ask for that. Even though I didn't need the money. It's not about the money. It's about that fear and emotion that I'm having. Even if it's a tiny emotion, right? It's still in there. It's still like, nagging me. So the next question I ask myself, okay, is this something that is safe to do? Because let's say to go up there and ask for my money back would entail fighting 200 wrestlers, a bear, and I don't know, something really insane. Then honestly, it would be a legit way to say I should probably not do this. I would just say like it's legit okay to not do this thing. But if I realize that what, this is completely safe to do, then suddenly it turns in all the legit reasons just disappear, and it becomes a mind game, right? And this is where it becomes fun, because now I have no excuses not to do it, but I still feel the emotions. So I'm going to come up with all these BS excuses, like I don't have the time or whatever that our little mind does to protect us. But if I come to the conclusion that it's safe to do, then I have two options. One, I could acknowledge my BS excuses and kind of let myself down. Or I could say, you know what, these are just BS excuses, and let's see if I can get the experience. Let's see if we can do this thing and let's get that little win. So I go do it, and I have the experience, and I have all these emotions and this awkward sense, and maybe they look at me weird. But if I do a proper debrief now, I will get some good lessons. And the first question of the debrief, as you guys know, is what was the goal? So the goal for me was to go there, take control over my body, take control over my breathing, ask for my 50 cents back, and hopefully not look like a total fool. Right. So the first question of a debrief is, what was the goal? Do you guys remember the second question of a debrief? What do we always ask after that?
Was it accomplished, or what happened?
Exactly. The second question is, what actually happened? Right? So I want to compare what I wanted to happen to what actually happened. So now it's okay, what actually happened? Well, what happened was that I went up there and I was a little bit nervous and uncomfortable, so my heart rate went up. I started blabbering a little bit, stuttering on my words, and it became this awkward situation. I didn't really present it with confidence, or I didn't really do it in like as someone who didn't care. Like I just made it into an awkward situation. Okay, that's what actually happened. Okay, what's the next question? You remember? The third question, third and last.
What are you gonna stop doing, start doing, and continue doing?
Exactly. What did I learn from this? And I put it in 3 buckets: continue, stop, and start. So for me, what I learned, what I want to start doing is that when I'm facing a situation where I feel this, tiny bit of awkwardness, fear, anxiety, doubt, before I go into it, I'm going to take control of my breathing. I'm going to relax my shoulders, relax my arms, take a few deep breaths, maybe rehearse what the heck I'm going to say, and I'm going to do it again. Maybe not that time, but you get the point. That's what I want to do the next time. And now you might think, oh, this is such an overkill for 50 cents. Well, the 50 cents are not the point here. They're not what it's about. It's about me having an opportunity to practice emotional control, practice overcoming small, uncomfortable things, without making this big, huge thing where I have to go on some training plan or something. But I could just implement this every single day of my life, all these small things. And the crazy thing is,
Okay.
now that you've seen this and you've heard this and you go out into your lives, you're going to see these opportunities and you're going to ask yourself, should I do this or should I not? And you're going to realize that there are things that you have no legit reason not to do. And then you come down to that really tough decision. Am I going to let myself down? Or am I going to take the chance here to take that tiny step to become a little bit more mentally strong? And that's on you now. You can never unlearn this stuff. And you can't lie from yourself. I've done this many times, and I'm like, oh, damn it, now I have to do this. I have to do this now. So an example from my life happened so many times before. It's not an issue anymore because now I have Diana. But I would see someone that I thought was really pretty. And then my head would go into this 69,000 excuses why I shouldn't, try to get to know this person. Like, oh, I don't want to interrupt her. It's late. I'm in a rush. I'm in a, whatever. Most of the time, they were just BS. They were just trying to protect me from doing the thing that would lead me towards my goal, finding, an amazing woman to share my life with. And then I did this test, and I realized, you know what? I'm just being mentally weak right now. And then it was up to me. Some days we are mentally weak. We just accept that. That's just part of the part of life. But most of the times we want to be the people who say, okay, here's an opportunity to both practice mental resiliency, emotional control, and to take that step towards becoming a little bit stronger. And the beautiful thing is this: if you do this enough times, and suddenly approaching a stranger becomes no problem at all. Like today, I can go up to, doesn't matter who it is, I will go up there with confidence and have a great time. And that started from taking that tiny little step of interacting with someone on a train being super awkward. So this loop that I'm teaching you today, it is so good. It's so incredibly good. So this is the $1 million tip here. Any thoughts on this so far? I know I get really excited when I talk about this one because it's just a goodie. Yeah.
This is like when when I told you I was asked if I would come to that group of people, and I kept going, that is not what I talk to kids. I talk with
Yeah.
children just fine, thank you. I love working with my kids. Put me with a group of grown-ups. Nope, I'm not a grown-up. Put me with the kids.
Yeah. So, okay, maybe we can make that an interesting example here, Robin. So you have a big challenge presented to you, correct?
Yeah. Yeah.
Tell me about that challenge. Tell me a little bit about that challenge, if you want to.
Was told, I guess 2 days ago, that he was going to take, I wasn't asked. I was told he was taking it to the next person and wanted me to come do a talk on a Sunday morning to the congregation so they could get to know me and figure out what I was about because they needed to learn what I had because they needed to get it. And I'm sitting there going, they don't understand because I've not exactly been the white knight in shining armor. I've been to like a lot of weird, ugly places. They don't know what they're asking.
Yeah, but
but I
as
mean,
far as
they're seeing me after everything, and I'm sitting there in my head. I'm going, they have no idea what they're
but
asking.
you were asked to present in front of a big audience about your some of your experience and how you were able to endure so many things that most people won't. Correct?
Yeah, and my brain goes, you don't want to hear about any of this mess. Nobody wants to hear about any of this mess.
So would you say that that situation would induce a little bit of fear, anxiety, and doubt?
I about wanted to hang up the phone at that point. I almost did just make an excuse to hang up the phone.
Or would you say that it's safe to do? Oh no, we lost her. Ah, too bad. It's such a great example. Hope you should
Yes.
come back. Like, but so she was invited to present at the church, if I don't remember it wrongly. And the next question she needs to ask herself is: it safe to do? Right? Is this something that is actually dangerous to me? Oh, she's coming back. Maybe
Yes.
not. Maybe not. It was so fun. I just want to hear more about that stuff. Do you have something in your life? Oh, let's see. Do you have something in your life that reminds you of this side right now?
Actually, like during this college and school, everything we feel like challenging because it will be the first time when someone will like what they will try to give us some assignments or something like anything like doing some extracurricular activities or doing some orientations or programs or anything that will be everything new for us because we are still in that school life or college life where teachers try to present the new thing and we feel it very exciting and sometimes very scary, like everything will be
Yeah.
very challenging and we try to escape from that, like even like so many times they used to have dance, like we have to perform dance on stage, like that
Oh
kind of
wow.
things we try to escape. I have tried to escape lot of times because we have to perform and we have to pay for that. Like what what we can say is they have to book the auditorium. For that they used to collect money from students like 1,000. Even I used to pay that, but I never used to go there because I couldn't dance in front of everyone. Like that's what like something like we get scared to do something new and we try to escape from that zone, like out of that zone. And the recent challenge is for me is like as I think I texted you like on challenging on myself on Python. Like I want to learn the skill in 14 days because what's happening is I have 14 days full of holidays and I'm getting distracted by this all. All the technology, like YouTube and Google, we get constant information and all, and we try to deviate from what we want to learn the skill. And I think this we can, as I'm in this degree level, we can actually use this time a lot more efficient. Like this 14 days, I want to use it more efficiently because we don't get that much long vacation, and we'll be very like during in college time. I be very busy, like like we have to write assignments, homework, and all. That's what my challenge is. I want to do 14 days challenge. Like I'm starting from the month. I was thinking like I have to do, but I wasted 15 days, and remaining days is only 14 days. I think from today it's 14 days. So I
Got
like
it.
my
Got it.
vacations will get. So that's what like I'm regretting a lot. Like even it is safe to do, and I couldn't do.
So were you able to? You think you can use this framework for the future of your challenges? I guess to make sure that you're spending your time on the right
Yes,
things. Yeah,
There it
that's great.
yes.
'Cause- oh, there you go, Robin. You're back. You were in the middle of the freaking cliffhanger. You just left us. We're about to.
Yeah, a phone call came through and interrupted the whole thing, even though I refused it.
Got it.
Yeah, um,
So tell us,
I ab-
did you
I
see this as
about
something safe to do, or did you feel like this was, yeah? How did you see this?
it's safe to do. It was emotionally charged enough because it contained so many I overcame so much crappiness stuff that I don't usually acknowledge anywhere in groups publicly ever,
Yeah,
that to even mention, yeah, I walked through X, Y, or Z in a public function made me want to shut down and hang up the phone and go, I don't know about this. No, it's a safe thing. There's nobody anywhere that's gonna yell at me, fuss at me, or do anything. It
Yeah.
just made me want to shut down, basically. And
And
that's
then
an
you know,
old fear response. I knew what it was. That's an old fear
yeah,
response. Cut and
yeah,
run. Thank
yeah,
you.
exactly.
Cut and run.
Well, then you know what my next slide is for you.
Yep.
And then you also know that once you've done it, you have some good stuff to learn from that, right? That's going to
Yep.
be a huge,
Yep.
and I'm hoping you're going to live stream to us. We actually get to see it, just to add some extra,
I
extra
have to
emotion to it.
figure out how to do that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But
Okay. Very exciting. I like that. Okay, that was good. I enjoyed that. Uh, so I guess my question now, before we round this bad boy off, is: are you guys going to take on a good little challenge in the next 24 hours? One of those micro things.
Yes.
I'll tell you what I did just before this thing. So it's a never-ending quest to do this. When I wanted to start this little session we did here, I'm like, oh, maybe I should live stream this to Instagram, because a lot of people, they show interest in this and they want to know a bit. And then I'm like, no, I'm not going to do that. And then I'm like, wait a minute, why not? And then I realized there's something with live streaming to Instagram that scares me. It's a little bit of fear. I'm like, we're not going to let that bad boy little slip. So I, of course, had to do it, right? So you will find these small little things in your everyday life, and you can let them control where you go, or you can prove to yourself, no, actually, I make the decisions. And then next time, you wonder if you're going to turn on Instagram or not, and you realize you're completely unattached, there's no emotion, then you can pick whatever you want, right? So that's how these things can be part of your everyday life. That's how I implement it and how I see big results with other people. So that's a fun one. So I'm really looking forward. I would love for you guys to, in the Unbreakable Mind community, when you have an experience like this and you accept it or decline the offer to develop yourself, and give us a little message or post something in the community and see what happens. A little debrief. That would be super fun.
all the little things that come up like this.
Yeah, or a tiny thing that you like, oh, you know what? I had one of those moments and I learned something. Yeah.
Okay.
Fun. All right. Any questions before I go into my next call, which I'm already 4 minutes late to?
Mhm.
Good. All right.
Yes.
Let's see here. Then thanks so much, guys, for hanging out today. And yeah, whatever we do, keep challenging ourselves, keep moving towards our goals. And if we don't have our goals, we'll just figure out what the heck they are and keep moving towards them. And a lot of fun things are happening, so I'm excited. Excellent. See you guys. And Robin,
Yeah.
let me know
Bye-bye.
when the choir is. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye.
Yes. Thank you.